Should Brock Glenn or Luke Kromenhoek start for the Seminoles?
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith. Thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles with me. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today, I just want to focus on the quarterback's performance against the Miami Hurricanes. That's it. Florida State football is in a transition. I will dig into North Carolina and a little bit more of the review on Monday, but today it's what most people are talking about. It's what most people discussed and brought up in the chat last night on Saturday night. And if you want, I've got both those episodes uploaded. I cut it in half because it was long. There's plenty of discussion about Luke and Brock, coaching staff, recruiting, a little bit of everything. So just note that you can go back and look at that. But here's my look at it, what's happened, and just evaluating them, and then statistics. There's nothing like just the facts. So first off, I just want to kind of give a few notes about each player. Then I'll move into stats and some of the ways they can attack North Carolina, because that's a defense that can be had. The numbers will bear that out as well. First off, in terms of Brock, what I like about him is he's not afraid to go out there and just drill a pass, throw it in a tight window. He is not your young guy that's like, oh, well, I'm going to wait till he's wide open, and then I'm going to make a pass. He's the young man that will throw the football on time. He'll lead a guy around a DB, like he'll be on one side. He'll throw it to the other as he crosses behind a defensive back. He'll do those things. And he's especially adept at throwing the ball down the field. Florida State needs more of that. All of those things are good. Where I'm concerned about him, sometimes when he does throw into the tight windows, it's still not in the rhythm that you need. That's reps. I get it. But he's just not as accurate as I would like, even when they're really open. He's missed a few that he shouldn't have. He's also waited a little bit too long in the pocket, like most young quarterbacks. I'm going to say the same thing about Luke, but he'll wait too long before moving out of the pocket, stepping up, sliding, whatever it may be. And that gets him in some trouble. We'll talk about that statistically here in a moment, but his toughness and his mobility are certainly there. When he does move, there's no question that Brock Glenn has the ability to make guys miss, to get first downs. He's proven it in both games that he started. I think that Florida State is in a pretty good spot with him to do that. I don't know if it's going to go well long-term because I have no idea who's going to win this quarterback battle, but at least from a starting perspective of where he's at now, he's a redshirt freshman. He's probably ahead of most guys around the country. Remember, quarterback takes forever to learn. It is a lifelong learning skill. So these guys are not getting the number one reps until just recently, and it takes about a year of doing that individually, not even split, for it to usually work well, if you're lucky. So we're going to see snippets here. Just keep that in mind. The other thing I like about him, when he is on the run, he's cool if he pulls it and runs or throws it on the run. Some guys, once they leave the pocket, like their mind just forgets about, oh, by the way, I've got receivers and tight ends and running backs down the field. You have to keep your eyes down the field. Brock will do that. So that's good. Accuracy is my biggest concern, and being a little bit hesitant to leave the pocket before he should. But the way they're getting hammered up front on the O-line, I imagine he's going to learn a little bit faster as things go along. They're still a work in progress, and it's just really bad for a young guy to have to go through that, but that's what's been going on. Chemistry overall up front with the O-line is definitely a problem. Luke Kromenhoek is a kid that has, I think, an even stronger arm, albeit slightly, than Brock Glenn. And when he needs to zip in a pass, like the fourth down throw that he had at the tight end, on like a 4th and 3 money shot right on the numbers as he's going out of bounds, Kyle Morlock catches it, defender right behind him. That's the kind of play you need in a clutch situation. He's always had moxie. I've known him since he was a sophomore in high school, and he showed it then. He's showing it now, and I'm not surprised. This was only his second opportunity to really play, and he looked like he kind of understood it from an overall perspective. And I was a little surprised at how quickly he adjusted. And of course, you had the wild play on the fourth down sneak where he ends up busting it for 40 yards. That's one of the weirdest plays I've ever seen. But he immediately understood and just took off. Once he hit the clear, he didn't ask. Here we go. On that play, he also showed me he's a little faster straight line than I thought. That's going to pay dividends down the road. Like Brock, similar body style, maybe faster. It's similar. I don't know which one is, but he has the ability to make a few guys miss. And again, he'll throw the football outside the pocket. I think he's even more aggressive, if possible, to throw the football once he gets outside the tackle box. Again, it's pretty close, but he's also, I think, just more accurate between the two. Again, stats will bear that out here in a second. The competition is a big part of it. He has a very poor sense of pocket presence, and when the pocket is collapsing and he's getting beaten up, but he gets up and he's competitive, just goes to the next play. That's very important for your teammates to see, because both Brock and Luke, to be honest, got beat up pretty good the last couple games. Part of it's their fault. Part of it's the line and the blocking, but they have kind of overcome it to the best of their ability. So that's important. Moving forward, his pocket awareness has got to go up exponentially and almost immediately. Not fair, but if it doesn't, he's going to end up getting banged up. He's taken too many shots that are straight up hits, not like kind of moving and getting hit, like getting hammered. That can't happen. The other thing is just the reps again. The rhythm with the receivers, that's fine. It's part of it. But if he doesn't allow himself a little bit of that, it's probably going to be difficult. I'm talking about like working, not just in practice. Like they got to be working outside of practice, on the phone, in the video conference room, whatever. All the receivers, the little side adjustment things for both these guys is important. Probably even more so for Luke, because he hasn't played as much. He hasn't gotten as many reps with the ones. That's going to be vital. He's got to do that. Coming up next, we're going to compare some of the stats and situational moments from the Miami game to give a better overview of which guy is more likely to end up being the starter long-term for the Florida State Seminoles. Have you downloaded the Gametime app yet? If not, here's your chance, and here's why. Number one, Gametime allows you the option to have all-inclusive pricing. All you have to do is turn on the feature with the toggle switch inside the app. Number two, if you like to know exactly what you're getting, this is the app for you, because once you find a game and a ticket you think you're interested in, but you may not be sure, select that seat and see the view to the pitcher's mound, to the end zone, to midfield, whatever it may be. Or if you're in a movie theater, get an idea of what it looks like. Gametime allows you to do that from your phone right in your hand. It's very easy with Gametime, and that's why you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for your first purchase with $20 off. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. Let's talk a little bit about the situational football with this game, just using some of the stats, third downs, first downs, and just kind of think back during the game. Florida State's offensive line, again, was not exactly the most helpful, but what did they do? How did they do it? Were there circumstances that you wish they would have taken it differently? Sure. With that being noted, here are a couple of things that I want to talk about. Number one, streaks in passing. This is very important because it builds confidence or it hurts. The concern I had earlier, I mentioned about Brock, he had two different segments of the game where he missed 5 in a row for whatever reason, whether they're throwaways, drops, just a bad pass, deflection, for whatever reason. 2 times he was in a 5 consecutive pass streak where they were incomplete. Not once, twice. That's concerning. On the other hand, if you look at Kromenhoek, he never had more than 2 passes incomplete. That gives me a sense that he's just a more accurate quarterback looking at it statistically, but I thought he was in general. Again, the throw to Morlock is about as important a throw as he's ever going to make. And you're like, well, why, Brian? Because that's a short pass. That's the more normal pass. If you can't hit the short to intermediate stuff on 3rd and 4th down, you're never going to get to the fun stuff consistently of throwing the deep ball. to that point, he did hit the deep ball to Ja'Kai. I'm curious to see if there's a little bit more of a cohesiveness for both of them with Hakeem. Hakeem had the weird play on the deep ball. They misjudged. I can't even remember who threw him the ball, but he's got to be more in sync with them. They're starting to use like BJ Gibson's coming into the lineup. You're seeing Wayne McCoy. There's going to be some goofy moments because they're playing freshmen and redshirt freshmen at both receiver and at quarterback. It is what it is. Plus Amari, that catch he made on the final drive where Florida State scored. That's a great play. I believe that one was from Brock. He can make the throws. That was an NFL play all around. Coverage was actually good by Miami too. But there needs to be more plays like that, and that's just reps. So we'll get more into that. Statistically on the front in terms of, okay, third downs, all of the fun stuff in that regard, this is where I was a little concerned from both of them. This makes no sense whatsoever. You can't make this stuff up. Third down and long, 9 yards or more, Florida State's 2 of 4. Tremendous. Third down and short, 0 for 4. How is that possible? Even with freshman quarterbacks, that can't be the case. Third down passing overall for the Noles, 2 for 7 for 12 yards. Complete garbage. It's just true. It's complete garbage. Pass protection caused a lot of the problem. The receiver is not getting open, getting enough separation. It goes to tight ends and running backs too. A little bit of it play calling, and you've got to give credit to Miami. They obviously give scholarships as well, and they've got a lot of talent on defense. But Florida State didn't really do anything to help themselves. Luke missed a wide open touchdown. Kentron runs across the field, wide open bust. He pre-designated this. Again, this is that pre-snap stuff that a lot of young guys do, and it's the same with the pass rush and knowing pocket awareness. He decided before that play started he was going to go to the running back. He's not going to convince me otherwise. I don't care if he's sitting in front of me. He looked at one guy and threw it, and he wasn't open. The other guy coming across the field, 0 people on him. Nobody within 20 yards of him. That is a touchdown. You cannot miss those. Luke had that play. I don't think Brock had one that way. That was the one play that I saw. There might have been something else where Miami completely busted. That's how you get out of third downs, even if you don't have a low or don't have a high percentage. If you hit a touchdown, who cares? Points are the bottom line. So I'm curious if they can get past that. They've got to start hitting the big shots. As I've said all year, they struggle up front. The way you overcome that is when something is available, you got to throw an accurate pass. The receiver or whoever it is catching the ball has got to be able to catch it clean right now and gone. You must score on chunk yardage plays or you're going to struggle. Use the last drive. Amari catches a really tough pass. It's the only place it could be. Great throw by Glenn. But that's why they got that drive really going, that play. You can't have drives like that end up in the end zone when you're constantly moving backwards because of penalties and stupidity up front or drop or whatever. You're going to have to hit those plays. So let's see what Florida State can do against North Carolina. We'll talk about them here in just a second in terms of stats. I think Florida State's going to score some points. It'll probably be their best offensive game of the year if I had to guess. First downs, this is a little bit surprising to me. Florida State averaged 3.3 on the ground, and they had a few 9-10 yard runs. This is where this stat gets a little funky in college, though. You set up play action by good running, but when they threw on first down, they also got sacked sometimes. So it kind of throws it off. And their first down passing was, again, atrocious. 2 out of 10 for 37 yards. I mean, that's just completely awful. These guys are learning. They have to be able, especially against base defenses when they're not blitzing, to hit checkdowns, don't get too aggressive, and just be accurate. I'm not sure if they're as comfortable as they need to be. They look pretty comfortable in the pocket, but sometimes too much. And I don't care which one it is with these kind of stats. The accuracy and the timing and the rhythm and all those things need to be improved for both players. But neither one's even in the stratosphere where they need to be. Kind of hard, I get, when you've got somebody in your face all the time, but it is what it is. Last stat that I want to mention, I was surprised a little bit by the 40-some yard run by Luke. Again, that was a really bizarre play. But just statistically, he had 11 carries for 71 yards. Brock had 5 carries for 22. Just want to reiterate, no matter who's in the game, the Noles can run RPO. That is not a maybe. That is not a could be, should be. That is a fact. Florida State has the ability with their quarterback. It's not Jordan Travis, I get it, but they can threaten the other team on the edge, quarterback draw, quarterback power, quarterback lead. Any of that stuff can be put into your arsenal now and later. Think about these two guys after another year in the weight room, go through spring and they're battling. It's going to be a battle all the way through next spring. You will have another weapon for your offense, and that changes things. So that is really good news. We're going to come back here in a minute and talk a little bit about attacking North Carolina. I've got some of their stats. I don't want to go too far into it, but how I would utilize, and I don't care which one it is, we'll go specifics, but how I would utilize both Brock Glenn and Luke Kromenhoek against the Tar Heels. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more from the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. North Carolina is not the greatest of defenses. It is also a very strange defense. I'm going to read off a couple of stats for you here, and you tell me how this is possible. Another goofy situation. Florida State's got their own weirdness with offense. Well, North Carolina does with defense. Their pass defense gives up 244.8 yards per game, which is awful. 106th in the nation. However, they have one of the nation's best pass rushers in Javari Ritzy. He's got 6 sacks. They got a couple other guys around 4. And overall, as a defense, they're 25 sacks, 10th in the nation. How on God's green earth are you giving up that many yards? So you've got a really unusual circumstance in terms of matchup. Whichever guy's in the quarterback position for Florida State, whether it's start the game, middle of the game, whatever, I'm guessing both will play against the Tar Heels. You're going up against a secondary that's obviously giving up some big plays because they get pressure on the quarterback. They're actually, they're not terrible at getting tackles for loss either. They got 48 of those, which is 47th in the nation. It's not great, but they create negatives. And again, they're still giving up 244.8. To that point, the 20-plus yard passing plays. If you've watched Locked On Seminoles at all, I talk about this stat constantly. Miami hit some against Florida State. Florida State hit a couple against Miami, but this could be the kind of game where both teams could have some moments. Carolina's hit a few on their offense, so the Noles will need to score some, but they're not great on offense. And 244.8 leads into this. They have given up 30 passing plays of 20 or more yards this year. That sucks. Carolina is 113th out of 134 teams in the nation. Both these young quarterbacks, Kromenhoek and Glenn, like to chuck it down the field. Combined with the athleticism, Landon Thomas and Mari Williams in the middle of the field to hold those safeties a little bit, screen game with Tofili. If Florida State cannot garner at least 4 or 5 plays in the 20-yard range, I'd be surprised. And again, I'm not saying these are passes the ball goes in the air beyond 20 yards before it makes contact with a Florida State pass catcher. You could throw it behind the line of scrimmage. You get 20 yards, you get 20 yards. There are different ways to do it. So I'm guessing that not only is Carolina busting in the back end, I'll have to watch some of their film. I haven't done it yet. But they're also probably not a very good tackling team. 244.8 when you've got legitimate pass rushers is astoundingly bad. Florida State has a chance to make some room in their own way, however they want to do their offense. They don't have to adjust a lot to Carolina. Maybe they leave in another guy to block once in a while in some quick game. But if I'm right, even at just about the tackling, Florida State could finally hit some big plays. Benson had a couple of catches. I'm curious to see who else gets in the lineup. Maybe it's Jalen, maybe it's BJ Gibbs. I don't know. Somebody has to create a 5-yard chunk yard play. What's that mean? Catch a 5-yard hitch or a screen, something like that, and go boom. Run by everybody. Florida State has a ton of guys that can run. It just doesn't happen. The two things that have completely baffled me this year are that, and then Florida State still hasn't done anything with the turnover department. There are 3 turnovers still. They are the worst team in major college football at creating turnovers, and that's bizarre to me because they can rush the passer. I don't get that. But also statistically, Tar Heels give up 141.1 on the ground. The Noles ran the ball pretty decently. let's see, the final stat for Florida State rushing, 133 yards, and they got sacked several times. They ran the ball for over 5 yards a carry. So it's not like they were terrible. I know part of it was that Luke play, but even if you got rid of that, they're around 5 yards per carry with a lineup that's busted up front. You had Rizzy in the lineup, your left tackle was out, etc. They're getting better. Early in the lineup now at guard, I think they're going to be a little bit better. They're still trying that out. Maurice, I hope, is getting a little more sense of what's going on, but they should be able, to run the ball in Carolina. I wouldn't be shocked if they ran for 200 yards. Sam Singleton's capable of taking one to the house like he did on that kickoff a couple games ago. So don't be surprised if they bust a big play. Before anybody asks, I do not know if Cam Davis is expected to play anytime soon. I have not heard. Total defense for Carolina, 385.9. That's 88th. They're not exactly killing it. Scoring defense, 28.4. That's 95th in the nation, so they're not clutch. They're giving up too many big plays inside the red zone and the high red zone. The 20-yard runs, they're not bad there. They've given up 10. 10's not terrible. It's 46th. Turnovers, this is, they're kind of like Florida State. They just don't do well there. They've only created 8. That's 96th. In third down defense, this isn't shocking. They're 41st. It's decent. 34.6%. When you've got a pass rush, it should be like that. Florida State's not much different. When they get a pass rush on teams, they can struggle sometimes. Although Miami chopped them up, but Miami chops about everybody up on third down. So I think Florida State has a chance here to hit. This following part is just 100% subjective for me. I would screen North Carolina to death. Make them tackle in space, keep my quarterbacks upright, keep them comfortable, let my athletes be athletes in space. I would almost tell them they're coming. And I would also run double pass, throw back to a quarterback. Both of them can run. The play that Cam scored on against Miami or against Florida State, that kind of play, something similar, why not? I would also use Ja'Kai Douglas a little bit more behind the line of scrimmage, even if it's a fake the screen, throw the bomb. They need chunk yardage plays. The sit back and read stuff is fun to watch. That's NFL stuff, but these two, based on their lack of pocket awareness, aren't going to be good at it. Whether it's Luke or Brock, I don't care which one. They're both very bad with pocket awareness right now. It's not really negotiable. You can't expect them, with this O-line especially, to feel the pressure and the play to end well consistently. They're not good at it. They're not. You need screens and bombs. Middle of the field, bad. Much as I hate saying that, because eventually to be really good, you got to use it. Right now, I don't think they're going to be that good at it unless they catch somebody in a bust or they get a really favorable matchup. Somebody like Amari on a linebacker could be. And, so, Elijah, let's see, what's his name? Elijah Muzzy is a guy with 7 pass breakups from Carolina. Stay away from him. I mean, he's got 7 pass breakups. He's a good football player. Avoid him, attack linebackers, screen them to death. A little more max protection is how I would do it. Make Carolina beat you with what they haven't proven to do. Tackling well in space and being consistent with not having busts. Florida State's got the athletes to score 28, 30 points against them pretty easily because the defense between Carolina and Miami is like a mile apart. Talent-wise, it's not that close. I'm sorry. The secondary for Miami has problems. I get it, but they get so much pressure and they're so consistent in their front 7 overall. Florida State got eaten up a lot. It's just true, and that's different also because that's one less game played. The amount of experience that each of these guys is going to get week to week is pretty big. So I would imagine watching the film against Miami is going to help them a lot, and it should prepare them to play against North Carolina Tar Heels. We'll see how it goes on November 2nd. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles football with me. It's always great for me, and I appreciate it. Let's keep it rolling. If you have not hit that notification bell, that like button, or subscribed to the Locked On Seminoles podcast, please do so. Also, make sure you check out my guy, Kenton Gibbs, and Alex Dono over at Locked On ACC next. I will see you again on Monday.